So I am having the distinct pleasure to be talking to you, Miss Elizabeth Douglas. You are a New York licensed attorney focusing on family law. And I was reading your bio and getting to know you a little bit. And I was so curious if you could tell us a little bit more about your journey being a woman, being a lawyer, and how it is that you decided to focus specifically on family law.
Well, first, good morning, Mari. Thank you for having me. I'm psyched to be here. And yes, being a woman and being all the things. Um, let's see. I really wanted to focus on family law because I wanted to have a connection with people. And my clients and the clients that my firm represents are people who are dealing with a change in how they envision their future, their hearts, their families, their children, their finances. Everything's happening at one time, and they have to pivot. And when given a pivot in life, everyone, whether you're male, female, you have to choose what are you going to do next because inevitably something will happen. And I really love, as well as my firm, we love to work with people and empower them to create the next chapter of their lives. So family law is a field of law where you can do that. You're involved in all the things that make us who we are. And we have a hand in helping people create what to do next. So that's what brought me there. I've had a tremendous legal career so far. I love being a lawyer, but early on, working with companies and helping to keep companies, let's say, rich, didn't allow me to connect on a personal level with clients. And that's why I love doing what I do now.
So how did you make the transition? Because it seemed like you were working from a more distant corporate type of client base, and then you went to a very personal type of clientele. And that's like going from night to day. How did you manage that pivot? You help your clients making this pivot. Tell us a little bit about the pivot that you had to make, and also maybe some of the challenges that you also had to take into consideration as you were making this transition.
For sure. Well, every change or pivot presents new opportunities. I don't really see things as challenges. I think see them as things, ways to get yourself to the next step of where you want to be. So transitioning practice areas, yeah, there was a hard component to it. And the hard component was I was already an established lawyer. I had a good track record for myself, and I felt comfortable in my space. I always knew I liked divorce and family law, even from law school. And I'd done some clinics. I'd actually worked in the courthouse as a student lawyer and helped to get some temporary orders of protections, but I hadn't actually practiced. So I think opportunity, as opposed to challenge one, was how do I now use my experience and leverage it to a new practice area, but then become a beginner all again? Because family law takes a distinct skill set, and it definitely is a different practice mentality, and it's a mind shift. A lot of my colleagues from other practice areas often comment and they say, oh my gosh, how can you do that? How do you get involved in that drama? Well, one, I love it. And two, you see it as empowering people. So I had to actually get practical knowledge. So I did spend a lot of time, some of it uncompensated, shadowing other great family lawyers and divorce attorneys in court, watching what they did. And that can be humbling when you're an experienced lawyer. I had tried a lot of jury cases, I had experience, and here I am now having to keep quiet and just observe. I spent a lot of my free time in court watching trials. And I didn't watch trials to just the average Joe lawyer. I researched when the top guns were going to trial, and I sat in the jury booth and I watched them try a case so I could see how it was different. I also was privileged to have some great mentors. I still have some great mentors, and asking those people the tough questions about how do you bridge the gap? How do you not just be good, but be great? What do you do differently in your preparation? I mean, for example, I knew how to take depositions. I'd taken hundreds, but I didn't know how to take a deposition in the divorce and family law course. So I went and I did CLEs, which is continuing legal education. Every single one that came up in the practice area, I took. I took courses. I even did some work back at the law school, auditing classes in divorce and family law. I met mentors. I watched them in their office environment. I watched them in court. I did a lot of reading. And then I applied the skills that I had to just be excellent at the craft. And then I put in the work, the lots of after hours work where you're reading the case law, you're trying to read articles, scholarly journals, understanding why things are how they are. And then what I really kept first and foremost was what was my goal? It was to help empower people to create the next chapter and to make things meaningful and to understand why they came to me, to add value to them. And that's how I got to transition to this practice area of law love it and really build myself along the way and my team.
So you were like pretty much studying a whole new area of law and
Yeah.
really like diving deep into it. And I mean, that takes someone to be very studious. I mean, we went to law school, so we already have that kind of checked off the box. And we think, once we're done with law school, we don't have to study anymore. But actually, I think what law school teaches us is how to be self-reliant and resourceful so that we can go out and learn this another practice area of law or whatever type of area of law that we need in order to best serve our clients. And that takes a whole set of practical skills and qualities in an individual as well. What other kind of key qualities and skills would you say have also contributed to your success?
I'm tenacious, and I never think of failure as an option. I think of when things don't work out how you want them to the first time, try again, create something new, meet someone new, do something differently, and put yourself in the space. So I've always implemented that philosophy. I think also realizing that you can't sweat the small stuff. So while the endeavor for me, I'm an all in person. So if I devote myself to something, I'm going to give 110%. And at the same time, if I don't get that exact result right away, I don't make that be a roadblock to me. I figure out an innovative or creative way to get where I want to be. I'm also someone who was always willing to give back their time. So I think what you give is a direct proportion to what you get. Um, and being able to accept and be giving at the same time has helped me tremendously. I haven't gotten where I am on my own. No one's an island. And I think along the journey, I've met some great people. I've had some great mentors. I've been encouraged. So kind of a combination of those things.
It's like a give and take, give and take,
Yeah.
give and take, finding balance in order to all of us to succeed, right? And so you also mentioned that you've had role models and mentors who have helped you along the way. Can you share a little bit more about maybe how there was a significant mentor and how they have either influenced you or inspired you during your legal journey?
I can think of a couple. I'm not sure if I could mention names or not, so we'll just go with the conservative route of not. But I'll give you a profile. One particular mentor was a lawyer, and I say was because he's now deceased, but he represented a lot of celebrity clients and affluent people. And he was certainly an excellent lawyer, but in many ways, an excellent person and an excellent lawyer and a tenacious advocate. So I liked to observe him, and he actually is one of the attorneys who I was an understudy for, learning how to do high net worth depositions, what made them different. He explained to me the financial consequences. I also went on and did the training for that type of thing. But this particular lawyer was someone who, with his busy schedule, his roster of clients, so to speak, and his lifestyle, he definitely didn't need to help a lawyer who was about 30 years his junior, who now says, "Hey, I want to do what you do." And, I'm always bursting with energy. So I'm sure it must have been annoying to him in the beginning. And he definitely ignored me the first few times I reached out. So I realized then the pivot was I had to show value to him. And I also had to give him the respect of someone who's at that level of their career who might not have the time or even want to help. So once we bridged that gap, and it took some follow ups on my end and taking him to lunch, talking to him, but also building a relationship. It wasn't about what can you do for me? It was about you as a person, what got you where you are, being honest in the fact that, hey, you're someone I really admire. I would like to learn to be like you. And if you can't help me, do you know someone who can? And the follow up and being committed to hard work. You really have to check your ego at the door. So for me at that point, I had been practicing for about 8 years. I had a good track record of my own. And this attorney basically said, "I'm not going to pay you. And hey, I needed to basically take my notes." So I could have thought, great, I'm going to be your secretary. But I didn't. I thought, this is awesome to get my foot in the door and appreciate your time. And of course, we got to a level of professional acceptance and also an understanding that, okay, we're on the same level, we're on the same page. And this is how we each respectively will help each other. And it turned into a wonderful friendship. In fact, to this day, I'm still very close to his widow, and it's a great thing. I had
And
another mentor. Sorry.
no, go ahead, please.
I had another mentor who was another awesome, she's a fabulous attorney. And one of the things that she said was, this is not for the faint of heart, this work. You have to really think about, do you want to be a lawyer? You're smart, it's great, but do you want to do this because it's work that you've got to put the time into? When I had this conversation with this particular mentor, I was about 19 years old and having a fabulous time in undergrad, doing well, loving life. I didn't understand what it meant to really be a litigator, and certainly learned, and it's a choice. And if you want to be excellent, you have to put in the time. But it was great having that mentor from an early age, because this is someone who took me under her wings before I even went to law school. And to be able to count that person as a friend now, when I am a lawyer, I've established I have a practice, is amazing. But along the journey, certain things that she's told me, they resonate differently, because at different levels of my career, I would remember what she said and what they meant. And I try to do the same to others in my practice and in my environment.
I love that. And I love that you really focus on the relationship. I mean, us as lawyers, we also have the relationship with our client, and that's also very personal, especially in your area of the law. And so as we are wrapping up here, I wanted to ask, what do you have for words of wisdom to share for other women lawyers who are starting their career, starting their journey, whether it be in family law specifically, if you have something specific for them? What would be some words of wisdom that you could impart on them?
Be a human first. And remember that before we have a title, before we're lawyers, before we're doctors, before we're whatever, we're humans. And then from a female perspective, we're women first. And strong women empower other women. So instead of looking at someone as a competition or being intimidated by them, think about them as a person and try to connect on some interpersonal level. That approach has always gotten a better response from me than any other one. And I think too that bring your authentic self to anything. When you try to pretend to be someone you're not, you can't get as far. What makes us all unique and powerful is what we bring that someone else can't bring, because they can't be you. And I think embracing that, celebrating that, is what helps to empower us to move forward. And also, don't be afraid to work hard, because women, let's be honest, we've had to work hard for a long time, and that will continue who knows how long. But don't be afraid to bring it and bring your unique femininity to things. And I think that that really helps.
I love that. That is like I'm taking that advice for myself too. I don't think that just
Awesome.
applies to newfound attorneys. I think that applies to all of us. It's a great reminder. Thank you so much for that, Elizabeth. It
Thank you.
was a wonderful chatting with you. Thank you for sharing your story and your journey and your words of wisdom. They're definitely going to be benefited to the people that are watching here. Thanks so much for joining us.
I'm so glad. I appreciate it. It's been awesome.
Okay, so I
Okay.
think we are good.